Ask and you shall receive.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for being here this evening. Thank you for
braving our dark and stormy San Diego night to be here for this important topic. This is a great turnout, and I'm not surprised. I have heard so many concerns for so many years from folks at our neighborhoods who are concerned about brush fires, wildfires in our urban environment, the concerns that they can spread into our neighborhoods. And I think the fact that you're all here demonstrates what an important issue this is to all of us. Obviously, what happened up in Los Angeles was really drove the point home. And then just a few weeks ago when we had the Santa Ana winds and the number of fires that broke out that week here in San Diego, I think we all took note of that as well. When we had that rash of fires that broke out a few weeks ago during those Santa Ana winds, I was really impressed at the number of resources that they threw at those fires and how quickly they were able to get those out. We'll be hearing from Chief Tony Costa, the fire marshal, in just a little bit. Appreciate you being here. Also want to welcome the Burn Institute. Whitney Cartwright is here and will be sharing some important information with us as well. As we all know, insurance is a big part of the conversation. We're fortunate to have with us Rob Ominosa of the California Department of Insurance. Thank you for being with us. And of course, we're taking questions and comments from you this evening as well. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our presentation. And I will start by handing the floor over to Chief Tony Costa, the fire marshal for the city of San Diego. Chief, we're very appreciative of you being here.
Thank you, council member. Appreciate that. Slide over here is Robert Chief. Well, we're talking about fire safety and the safety in general and collaboration. There's people in uniform here, there's people out of uniform here. You got public safety people, you got some guarding the hose right there against the wall from our operations division. We've got our police division, neighborhood policing, community resource officer. We actually have people in closed uniform that represent firefighters' pay, benefits, working conditions from our local 145 unit over there. And we've got a couple of firefighters in the back room. So we are surrounded and safe tonight. And I'm watching the exit. So I'm just going to give a high-level overview. I don't want to go into the granular details, but I want to reserve and answer a lot of your questions if you can. But a lot of the representatives here are going to be available for you. We do have a brush management guide in the back. It's going to go over some of the defensible space zones. We also have some resources for Ready, Set, Go. I have a couple of copies, but not enough for everyone in the room. I'm hoping to encourage people to use the QR code. So when it comes up, it alert, or you see it, I'll signal you to try to get it on your phone. And you can save our wildland management enforcement website, Ready, Set, Go, materials like that. So to begin, we're going to go over a few topics, but this is our staffing levels that we have currently right now. We have 52 fire stations, and we are at full staffing. With that, we have 994 firefighters currently, but our constant daily staffing is going to be 53 engines, 13 aero trucks, 7 battalion chiefs, 1 shift commander, 1 right in the back of the room there, and a beat battalion chief. Helicopter, additional one if needed. We're actually acquiring a third helicopter. We have our USAR, X-ray, UAS, airport fire station. I don't expect you to know all those acronyms, but we have the ability to upstaff 13 brush engines, 2 light and air, 2 hazmat, and 1 USAR, urban search and rescue, if you want acronym. We're about to get 2 other brush engines, 3 strike teams, 5 units. Thank you. So this is a little outdated because it's kind of from the Public Safety Committee and then the council presentations, but just to represent, we have an average rainfall of 5.4 inches. This was on the 10th of Monday. We had about half inch. I think we had about another half inch or so. It's still raining, so maybe it's a little bit more. We're getting closer to our average. We work with our op area and state to ensure staffing models increase when needed. So just pausing on that just for a moment. So we have think of that as boundary drops. We have automatic response agreements with our local partners to get us resources at any time. We don't have to worry about this boundary line and say, hey, can we get permission from another apparatus? These are some of the enhancements from the 03 and 07 fire rescue department and our safety agencies police have worked on. So examples for upstaffing is when Santa Ana winds, and recently rain. So typically we try to get some of our shift commanders and our operations personnel in here, but you have unfortunately got moved today because they are upstaffing for flooding conditions and any other weather event. So an example, recently, 3 strike teams, 2 water tenders, extra dispatchers, and some management teams to be prepared for those incidents. Those recent fires we had, having those resources ready to go in preparation is important. So next slide, please. So this is that constant simulations and analysis of fire site potential. So it's daily, it's updating all of our conditions, the cross-reference for staffing of current fires and immediate weather conditions. So a few days ago, it was all worried about fire conditions. Today it's about flooding conditions. Next slide, please. So this is where I'm going to key you in to jump into see if your phones actually work. If you have a smartphone. If you don't, we have a couple of things that we can hand you. So what you're going to see is some recent updates. We wanted to make this more customer friendly. So when you go to see it, you're going to get the Ready, Set, Action, Go guide. We also got some funding to translate it into all languages. So we have Spanish and English currently. We're trying to get it in every single language to meet the demographics of our community. So everyone kind of getting that, got to let it load and then try to save it to your phone. Let's give you a moment and we'll click over the next slide right now. Okay, go back to Anita. Sorry. So I'll just talk about what you're going to see in the next slide. So what you'll see is the Ready, Set, Go guide. There's actually a community wildfire protection plan toolkit for communities. If you want to learn how to make a community wildfire protection plan, this is going to help each community kind of devise plans on mitigation of vegetation, kind of figure out, contingency evacuation routes for communities. Very nice thing to look at and review. That's available through, I think it's on 18th coming up. Thank you. So this is what you're going to see when you go to that QR code. You're going to have a drop down menu. You're going to have guidance for homeowners. You're going to have a drop down for setting fire services that we provide. Wildland management enforcement is in my division. I'm the Fire Prevention Bureau. New fancy name for that is the Community Risk Reduction Division. We just reprioritize, make sure that we find initiatives to reduce risk, whatever category it is. That's the simplest way to put it. So another tool that we have is the home risk assessment. This is available beginning July 1, 2025. I've seen one of my collaborators and community ambassadors in the room that we've been working with, the Fire Safe Council. This risk assessment, and I'm happy with the insurance commissions here, because what I'm curious about is see how effective these are going to be. What it really means is it's going to comprise of a few things. You're going to get your typical defensible space 100 feet from a structure, our brush management regulations locally. You're going to get zone 0. That's going to be effective for new construction, new buildings in 2026, potentially retroactive following that. We don't know exactly when. We're waiting for guidance from the state. So those 2 things. You're also going to get home hardening guidance, no cost, low cost retrofit guidance. And you're also going to get an assessment that's based on the Institute of Business and Home Safety, which is an insurance-related assessment that they're going to look at your home to decide whether you keep your insurance, reduce your insurance, and so on. We're going to give you all of that. You're going to look at things like maybe in compliance with defensible space, but hey, your neighbor's tree, your cypress tree, is a little bit too close for comfort for the IBHS assessment. So we're trying to prepare you for what the insurance industry is going to come to your door about when your insurance is going to get renewed. I'm hoping to see that this is going to help us become more defendable, more insurable for that new risk assessment. There's a fee that's associated with it, July 1, and it's just for cover costs of our services. So you'll see the state fire marshals low cost retrofit resources. You have guidance for communities, fire safe councils, firewise communities, community wildfire protection plan, fire adaptive communities, all of those key tools that you need to defend your homes, your communities, collaborate together to help the fire department help you. Lastly, but not least, you're going to find all these things that we're going to be kind of talking about is emergency response and evacuation resources. We talked about this at Public Safety Committee. We talked about this at the City Council meeting. Talked about it every single town hall, fire safe council meeting. We've got to get people to join Genesis Protect, Alert San Diego, Fire Watch, or Watch Duty is another one. But just real quickly about what those are. So Genesis Protect is going to give you guidance. It's got a layer similar to like Watch Duty, but Genesis Protect is going to give you evacuation notifications, fire activity. That's something that we coordinate with. Watch Duty is kind of more for the general populace that's going to get, fire activity. I wouldn't rely on that so much for evacuation, emergency stuff. But if you want to just have general, additional ideas about what fire activity is going on in the area, you can use it. The Alert San Diego is just more general about all emergencies, floods, earthquakes, and so on. So we encourage you to download these apps, utilize them to be well informed.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for being here today. As you said, my name is Whitney. I work with the Burn Institute. If you haven't heard of us, we're a nonprofit serving the community with fire prevention education and empowering burn survivors on their road to healing. So hopefully none of you ever endure a traumatic burn injury, but if you do, we have resources for you. Our fire prevention services, we're targeting all age groups. So we go out into the schools, we do presentations on stop, drop, and roll, how to treat a burn, what to do if the house catches on fire. We also have a program for seniors. So if you're 62 years of age or older, own your home, and live in San Diego County, we have a free smoke alarm program for you. I have handouts in the back with ways to sign up. It's also available on our website, burninstitute.org. These smoke alarms are 10-year lithium battery operating alarms to avoid having to climb up on a ladder and change the battery yourself. These are free of charge. We also do the carbon monoxide alarms as well. We have programs targeting the youth. It's fire setter prevention program. So any youth that has shown interest in fire play, we have a program that they can be referred to help set them on the right track. We do an assessment, and we're trying to prevent and support our fire departments in preventing any fires from happening that way. We also have a lot of meetups and support groups for our burn survivors, trying to help them on the road to healing, and we allow them to share their stories to keep people alert. With 365 days a year, there's many different events and things. As we're busy, we can lose track of this awareness, and scald burns are one of the most common burn injuries that we're seeing. We work very closely with UCSD Regional Burn Center. So keeping our community aware, we have plenty of resources that are downloadable from our website. I have handouts, like I said, in the back. So spreading this information with your family and friends. Children 0 to 5 are at the highest risk for the scald injury. So we have special scald programs that's targeting new parents and new families to make sure that they're aware. It's having no-no zones in your kitchen, creating a space, making sure that your kids are aware. Accidents do happen, but if we can take it upon ourselves to make sure that our homes are as safe as can be, we're going to be able to prevent a lot of these burn injuries that we're seeing at the hospital. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. If you're looking to get involved, we have many volunteer opportunities, and that's pretty much for my.
Now, let's talk about some of the changes that the California Department of Insurance has implemented as of December 2024. So again, to attack the root cause of a lot of the insurance companies no longer writing policies in high-risk area, the California Insurance Commissioner introduced what's called the Sustainable Insurance Strategy. And this sustainable insurance strategy is designed to increase accessibility for insurance for Californians, which means bringing those options back within the state of California, creating a resilient insurance market so we don't fall back into the state of the market that we currently have, and also protecting communities from climate change. So on the next slide, let's talk about some of the changes that went into effect as of December 2024. So the biggest thing is with these changes, insurance availability in at-risk areas is going to increase. So we are requiring insurance companies to write no less than 85% of homes and businesses in distressed areas as identified by the insurance commissioner. So in order for these insurance companies to start using these new tools and regulations that frankly they've been asking for to be implemented in California, which have been implemented in other states, they're going to need to commit to increasing their number of policies within those high-risk areas. And our number one goal with these new changes and regulations are returning fair plan policyholders to the open market. So right now, a lot of homeowners are turning to the fair plan for their wildfire insurance. And initially, the California Fair Plan is intended as the insurer of last resort, meaning if you've got a super high risk property and you talk to every other insurance company, the Fair Plan is there to provide you with those, to meet those insurance requirements. However, we're starting to see more and more people who are not necessarily in super high risk situations having to settle for the Fair Plan because, as we had mentioned earlier, a lot of those companies are no longer writing policies in certain areas. So the number one goal is to get people back off of the Fair Plan into those open insurance markets. And for those of you that are on the Fair Plan that have been following those safer from wildfires regulations, they'll be given priority when those options come up. The biggest thing that insurance companies have been asking for is what's called catastrophe modeling and taking into account mitigation. So in the past, and this is the biggest thing because in the past, insurance companies, one of the biggest reasons why they stopped writing policies in certain areas or leaving the state altogether is because they weren't able to actually accurately verify or calculate the proper risk in certain areas. Because California was one of the only states in the country still using what are called actuarial historical models, where they would take data from the past 10 years and use that to project future losses. But as many of you probably know, in the past 10 years, California has suffered some of the most devastating wildfires in the state's history. So with their previous historical model, they would keep assuming that would keep again and again and base their projections on that information. But with catastrophe modeling, which is a more simulation-based forward-looking model, they'll be able to take into account all the fire mitigation that homeowners have been doing, the state and the counties have been doing, take into account climate change, take into account where in a neighborhood a fire hydrant is located, where the fire breaks in a neighborhood are located, and factor that into their risk assessment profile. We've also finalized what are called California-only reinsurance costs, so that Californians aren't paying for the cost of reinsurance prices that are based on catastrophes that are happening in Florida or Texas. We're only focusing on California only. And although our goal is to move people off of the Fair Plan, we still want to keep the Fair Plan a viable option for those who have no other choice in the insurance market. So we've expanded commercial coverage limits to 20 million per structure. We've closed gaps for HOAs, which have different needs than typical homeowners. We've increased that coverage for affordable housing and infill development. So, I know we've got a lot of questions about the insurance market, insurance availability, and everything like that. So I just want to say that, we've got the handouts in the back that kind of summarizes what I talked about today. I'll stick around and answer any questions. But also in general, we at the California Department of Insurance are your insurance advocates with the insurance company. So if you are filing a claim and you feel that your assessment is not being met, then you can give us a call and we can contact your insurer on your behalf and do a reassessment and do an investigation. If you are unable to get a hold of your adjuster or your insurance company, we can contact them on your behalf. So if you have any issues with your insurance company, having trouble finding options, give us a call or visit us at our website. So that's all I have for today. And again, like I said, I'll stick around and answer.
Thank you, Jay. All right, the first question that we have here is, where can I report encampments on abandoned lots or squatters who are posing a fire risk? And we'll hand that off to the representatives. Well, I don't know, I'm guessing that that's probably the PD, or unless, yeah, we'll hand it off to you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brent DeVore, and I'm the acting lieutenant. I'm in charge of enforcement operations at the San Diego Police Department's Neighborhood Policing Division. Has anybody ever heard of the Get It Done application? Has anybody ever seen a homeless person? Has anybody ever reported a homeless person or a homeless encampment through the Get It Done application? Those are in fact what comes to my division, and it's how we take your request to go out to the different encampments that you see and assess whatever risk there is. Is there any?
All right, we got a question here. Does the city use goats for brush management? The answer is yes, we do. We actually use goats at the Miramar Reservoir. So that is a yes to that question. Question for the fire department here. Can you explain in more detail how Genesis evacuation app and website works and what is the benefit of using it?
So Genesis Protect, unless you want to take it. Okay, so Genesis Protect, you download the app and you're going to get, you can put in specific information, that you want to receive, like you can pick details, and it'll give you notifications on evacuation notices, status of fires, and you can also put information in there to be noticed about like a loved one as well. So it's easiest just to go to the app, download it, and you can start submitting and logging in, and it'll start giving you the details of the type of choices you can apply for, whether it's a fire or anything else. That's the easiest way to explain it, is just to go in there and log in and start choosing the features that you want and notifications you want to get.
A couple more for you, Chief. How do communities start a fire safe council?
Great question. So the Fire Safe Council of San Diego County is the resource you go to and to get the template to establish a Fire Safe Council, and my staff and the county will work with you. If it's in the city, if it's in the county, then they're going to work with you with their local fire department. We have a representative in our Wildland Management Enforcement Division that's on those boards, and so we will coordinate with you. But there's other resources as far as fire-wise and so on that you can choose as well for that insurance benefit.
Is San Diego in any danger of suffering the pumping system breakdowns that occurred during the Los Angeles wildfire?
So I'm not the expert on this. I'm not here from public utilities, but I know that we have like 3,400 miles of pumps, and we have redundancies in our pump systems. We have reservoirs. We have over 26,000 hydrants. We get notified if there's a disrepair. So from what I'm told and from the presentations, we have a very safe system, and those redundancies back up if a pump goes out or something to that effect. Additionally, the fire department will augment staffing. If there's a hydrant down, they'll send a water tender. So we do things like that. If there is a pump that's down, my office works with public utilities department, planning department, and we have some augmentation there. So we will, work on some sort of plan to get them back into service if there is anticipated events. But they also have water modeling systems, so they can look anywhere in the city and tell what the pressure is in a particular area, particular hydrant. So it's pretty high end, but we also, our personnel for training purposes, they go out to hydrants. There's layer upon layer on layer, but we're notified of any changes in terms of the system, but I would have to defer to public utilities for anything other than that.
All right. How is the city working to prevent fires sparked by improper battery storage, such as those in North County? We're giving you the easy question.
You are, yeah. So storage of lithium battery fire. So we have a hazmat division in the community risk reduction division, and they go out to do proactive enforcement inspection of all properties that store or contain any type of hazardous materials. Used to be the combustible and explosives and dangerous materials section. We just renamed it to hazmat because it's code term, it's more broad. So what we do is, California has a specific chapter in the code, which other cities or other states typically don't. Section 322, it particularly pertains to storage of lithium batteries. So there's permits for it. We assess the building, how they store it. Do they have the right sprinklers? Do they have the right firewall protections and separations? If they don't, then you get violations. We work with other partners to make sure that they're in compliance. We're actually working on a property right now and working through that process. There's other things that we work with all these lithium battery energy storage systems. That's a whole new thing. So we require hazard mitigation plans. We require a plan if something goes wrong. They have to have an established plan with an insurance provider to mitigate those risks. If there is a fire, they have to have someone there to pull out all those hazardous materials so it doesn't expose the environment or the community. We have layer upon layer there. I'm looking at working with some of the council offices to establish ordinance for all mobility devices that may not be listed. So there's issues and concerns with ones that are tampered. So a mobility device gets sold, it gets used, and like, oh, I don't want it anymore, and then that's what we do inspections for. But we're looking at having some new regulations to enhance that. But I think as a whole, City of San Diego is in a great place, and we have a great team that does that mitigation. My team went and met with FDNY, who has got the most robust battery mitigation enforcement. So those are some of the things that we're doing.
Thank you, Chief. I'll give you a little bit of a break here. I got a couple of questions here that are directed to me. What is the city doing to ensure Caltrans conducts brush management and encampment cleanups near the freeways? That was actually referenced earlier. Part of one of the challenges that we're seeing is that you've got different jurisdictions responsible for different land. And the city of San Diego, we are fortunate to have a very attentive police department that's doing a great job of enforcing the unsafe camping ordinance and letting people know that when we have a shelter bed available, they need to take advantage of that shelter. But what happens sometimes is that instead of going to a shelter, they'll go over to Caltrans property. Or Caltrans, Department of Transportation, under the underpasses, the bridges, the off ramps, and such. We are in active conversations with Caltrans about that very situation. You may have heard, I feel like it's 3 months ago now, Governor Newsom made a statement that all state departments need to be ensuring that they are helping people experiencing homelessness off their properties, off their lands. That has happened to greater or lesser degrees, and I think we can all agree that we still see encampments on our state properties there. So there are a variety of different things that we're doing. We've been in contact with the Department of Transportation, and we're really trying to develop a system where perhaps the city of San Diego is given authorization to enforce the laws on that state property, or find some other mechanism whereby we can ensure that we're not just essentially playing whack-a-mole, but we can really get people off the streets for good and into a safer and healthier place. So it is a problem. We're aware of it. We're actively working on it. Question around MTS. So one of the hats that I wear is that I also serve as the chair of MTS, the buses and trolleys. And there's a question here: what do people who rely on public transit do if there is an evacuation? That's a great question. And MTS is actually very plugged in during the course of a serious emergency. It is in contact with the Office of Emergency Services. So if there is an evacuation where the buses in particular can be helpful with that, that information will be posted on the website. It will be put out for social media. If anybody has an urgent emergency need for evacuation and has trouble leaving their home or getting somewhere, by all means call 911. MTS may be part of that solution. There's other solutions, but MTS is there in the event of an emergency. I think this one would be for the fire department. How can you tell if brush is on city land, private property, or state property? Is there an easy way to tell?
No. you have to do site verification sometimes, because even we have multiple programs. We have Intera, it could be parcel views, map views, but we created a map tool on that complaint portal. If you go to brush management complaint section of our website, and as you go through and verify that is it city owned land, is private land, you can pretty much tell. It'll give you type in the address or something. They'll give you a pinpoint location. And what auto-populates is all the city-owned responsibility areas, our direct health facilities and so on. But just to piggyback on what you said, there was Caltrans. If you go down further on the complaint, there's other resources. You can go submit a complaint to Caltrans directly, or you can go to Caltrans directly. You do it on our website. And the Genesis Protect will also give people that don't have access, like shelter-in-place locations and other evacuation areas, and the details.
Okay, thank you. We've got some more questions coming here. All right, this is a question for me. What is being done to help people living in canyons? Okay, so the homelessness crisis is a humanitarian crisis, and it is also a challenge to our neighborhoods. It is both of those things, and we need to approach it in both ways. The city of San Diego has a robust homelessness system that is designed to help people who are experiencing homelessness get back on their feet and get into a safer and healthier place. We have a number of city-funded shelter beds, about just over 1,700 city-funded shelter beds. One of the things that I found when I spoke to people experiencing homelessness on the street was that a number of the ones who are living outdoors right now are living outdoors because they don't want to come inside. Some of them are afraid of COVID-19 and being in a big indoor environment, and they're concerned about their privacy. We see a lot of older people who are experiencing homelessness who just want a little bit more separation from a big crowd. Concerns about personal safety in a big shelter like that. So one of the things I did is I advocated for and successfully managed to get open 2 safe sleeping sites. And those 2 safe sleeping sites, they're in sort of obscure areas of Balboa Park that are sort of off the grid, but there's 700 tents there, so that people who want help but don't want to go into a shelter can go there. And at these safe sleeping sites, they get the same things that they would get at a shelter. And that includes security, 24-hour security, bathrooms, laundry, showers, meals, connections to services, connections to mental health or addiction services if they need it, connections to housing. You spend millions of dollars in taxpayer money to help ensure that people who are experiencing homelessness have the resources they need to get into a safer and healthier place. We have one bottleneck right now, and that is that our shelters are full. We do need to get more shelter beds open, because if we're going to insist that people take advantage of the services that we have and insist that they take advantage of the shelter beds that we have, then we have to have shelter beds available. So I am working on that. We had a city council meeting earlier this week in which the city council did agree to pursue a couple opportunities to open more shelter beds. And it's my position that if we have shelter beds and services available for people, that we need them to take advantage of those and not choose to live in the canyons or other open spaces, which are dangerous for our neighborhoods. All right, let's go to the next question here. This is one for the fire department. How is the city working with San Diego Gas and Electric to prevent vegetation from interfering with power lines? And how should brush that is located near power lines be reported? Is that a question you can answer?
So there's not a whole lot that we're doing on the enforcement end, if it's not within 100 feet of habitable structure, but again, to our website on the complaint portal, there is full education and you can report a hazard to SDG&E directly through our website. So all those other resources are there if you have a concern, but we are working with SDG&E on some of the programs and grants. They're very curious about our food treatment program. And they've been partnering and walking with us. So I would encourage you to report any hazard or concern. And if it's a priority area for undergrounding, I know they're looking at that too. So please go directly to that.
All right, thank you. I have another question here. I don't know if this is from the fire department, but let's find out. It says, this is a sort of a specific question, but it may apply in other ways to other people. Juniper Canyon never seems to have active brush control going on. Yet we get directed a number of times to clear out our portion of a finger of Juniper Canyon. Why would that be?
Again, it's without actually looking at my brain here, just maybe because it's within 100 feet of a structure, or that's as far as you can go because it's is it a preserve? Is it a habitat area? You got to look at it. It's hard to say in a quick answer. I'd have to look at it and do a site assessment sometime.
Thank you, Chief. Another question, it looks like this one is for me. How can we be sure as the city adds density, more homes and ADUs, accessory dwelling units, granny flats, that we can still evacuate safely? The city has been adding quite a bit of density, quite a number of homes as a result of trying to make sure that the housing in our area is affordable to our kids, our grandkids, and the people are able to stay in our communities. And part of that has been adding density. I've been a particular proponent of adding density downtown, where people expect there to be a lot of housing, where you could build up to 40 stories. And we go downtown and look at all the cranes in the air, we're adding a lot of housing downtown. I think that's where it should be. There has been quite a bit of housing going in some of our other neighborhoods as well. And when you add density, it presents a number of things that you have to watch out for and balance. You've got public safety issues with evacuations. You want to make sure that you have the infrastructure to support additional density. There are a lot of considerations and a lot of considerations that need to be balanced. So good question. But one of the primary things that we're trying to do is ensure that we've got enough housing so that the people who grew up here can stay here. We're going to go ahead and open it up to questions from the audience now, if there are any questions in the back.
How do we get evacuated on our streets without dealing with gridlock? And is there a central communication system that we can take advantage of? We can tune into to know where to go and how to leave our homes. I just have this fear that we're going to be stuck in gridlock and we're going to have to run for our lives.
So concern about gridlock and the question about communications. I will point out that we live in a dense urban environment where there are 150,000 residents of District 3, of the neighborhoods that I mentioned around Balboa Park. There's 150,000 of us. And so if we were all trying to leave at the same time, that would be a challenge. There's no question about it. I don't know if anybody else has anything that they would like to add in regards to that. Yes.
Yes, good evening. I'm Wes Morris. I'm the Captain Center Police Department, oversee our emergency planning as well as special events. And we work collaboratively with the fire department on evacuation. That's really kind of what we're tasked with doing, the police department. So you're right. You bring up a good point. Some of the places are more challenging because of the egress and what's going on. So some things seem really simple, and one is if you're not home yet, I hate to say this, but don't go home. you see smoke in the area, because we can sometimes get people who want to rush in and get that last thing, and it just creates an extra bottleneck that we can't handle at that time. Also, the Genesis app, I know the fire chief talked about it. You should download that. The Genesis app, if you haven't seen it, it's spelled a little differently, GENASYS, Genesis. That application, whenever a notification goes out, it should tell you where the temporary evacuation point is, or at least a location to go to. So if you're thinking where I need to go or where I should go, that's someplace that we've designated you can go to, but that's just a rallying point that make it move later. But one of my big concerns is I would just say that you also have something in your own mind. You know your neighborhood and know your neighborhood well enough. So think about if you're more than one way out, how would you leave? You know, on your way, you know, tomorrow afternoon, if you're driving around, know your neighborhood. You're right, there are a lot of these canyons. You got Maple Canyon and Spruce Canyon, and when I was a cop up in the area, when I was a patrol cop, I got lost all the time. So the more you know your area, so that if something does come up, you can get out and leave before the notification comes. If you find there's smoke in your area, go visit that family member or something. But look at the Genesis app. The Genesis app should be able to tell you where to go and which direction to go. As far as the actual gridlock, we have had situations like that. That's incumbent upon us to recognize it, and we try to move resources downstream so that we can loosen things up to try to get you moving. So we'll work the best we can to do that.
Never doubles the density in very high fire hazard severity zones. As you know, the Community Planners Committee that represents 52 neighborhoods all around San Diego has urged that kind of moratorium. Will you support it on City Council?
If there is a proposal that comes before the city council, I will be pleased to take a look and consider it. We know that this entire area is a fire zone. I mean, you could make the case that the safest way to approach fire safety in San Diego would have been not to start building here to begin with. It is a fire danger. If a proposal comes forward, I'll be glad to take a look at it. I am very serious, though, about ensuring that we make the cost of housing more affordable for people who have grown up here and people who want to stay here. And right now, we are losing too many children, too many grandchildren to other states because they can no longer afford to live in San Diego. I'm determined to do everything I can to make the cost of living in San Diego more affordable. And so I think that we need more housing as a part of that. My preference is to direct that housing downtown because I think that is an area where people expect there to be more housing and we can build up to 40 stories. So that is my preference. But if something comes forward, as always, I will be glad to consider it. Yes.
Something needs to be done because I don't see any effects of it, especially in our canyons. I've reported on Get It Done, multiple encampments which just keep growing and they're still there. I've seen fire down there. And so I don't see that there's any or enough enforcement of the no camping.
Thank you for the question. The question about enforcement of the unsafe camping ordinance and concern about the fact that there are still encampments in our canyons. There has been progress in addressing encampments through the unsafe camping ordinance, but we've got a lot of work to do. I will tell you that downtown in the last year and a half, we have seen a 60% drop in the number of people who are living outdoors. The downtown. Well, and then your question is about people who are living in the canyons, and it's a very real concern. You will recall during the Santa Ana winds 3 weeks ago, we had that series of fires. At least 4 of those fires are believed to have started in or around homeless encampments. And again, that's one of the reasons why I included canyons and open spaces in the unsafe camping ordinance. In terms of enforcement and how enforcement is prioritized, I will ask the captain if perhaps you would be able to address that. The police department is only so big that I'll give you the microphone and you can take that question.
So who had the question? So how we enforce any of the homeless situations that we come with. First, when you submit it to the Get It Done application, it comes to my division and it gets distributed through one of our 9 different enforcement teams. Specifically, we have overtime operations that run, and specifically to your canyons, we have a newly created, with the captain dubbed the Canyons and Beaches Squad. And that is specifically was put together to address those particular issues that we have in the canyons and the beaches. They're prioritized based on a number of different factors. The number of Get It Dones that are in the area, if there's a fire hazard or any of the public safety issue that is part of the Get It Done complaint. As an example, we had one off of the Hotel Circle. It was last week, and it went through one of our council districts. Is that okay?
You know, you mentioned that the police department does a good job, but there's just not enough officers. We are working to fully staff our police department. It's been understaffed for a long time. But I have a request of everybody here who believes that we need to have a police department and a fire department that are fully staffed and have all the resources and tools that they need. Please come testify during our budget hearings at City Council. We have a very large budget deficit. There will be cuts in this budget. We are legally required to have a balanced budget. There is no way of getting to a balanced budget without there being cuts. I do not want those cuts to be in public safety. I do not want cuts in the fire department. I do not want cuts in the police department. But unless the city council hears from you, who knows what my colleagues will decide. Everything that's, I mean, all of these things are important, right? I mean, nobody wants to make any cuts. But I believe strongly that public safety has to come first. And I hope that you will back me up on that. Yes.
Here at Presidio Park. And I found out the park department and the fire department, who's responsible for cleaning out all the brush that's in that cleaner canyon adjacent to the park? And I cannot get an answer from either one of the departments. So you were talking about some kind of new oversight. Who has the ultimate authority to clear the brush in our public park?
So right now, as I understand it, and I think this was the point of the audit that was conducted that talked about exactly the challenge that you're articulating. That would be the Parks Department's responsibility. And whether or not they have been able to attend to it in the way that ought to be attended to, I can't speak to that. Obviously, you're saying that it has not been. So I'll say 2 things. Number one, please call my office and we can help navigate that and figure out what's going on. So that's what we do. That's what you hire us to do. And number 2, that is precisely why I would like the fire department to be the final authority in ensuring that all the many city departments are fulfilling their obligations to maintain their property. So,
and code enforcement and a civil attorney and the fire department and et cetera, because we get the runaround, and Caltrans, sorry, I left that one out. You've already talked about this, and we were told to talk to various people. That's a lot to ask of a senior citizen such as myself and other citizens when we're just trying to, live our lives. It seems like there should be a central phone number we could call where somebody else knows the right person to call. It sounds like it's your office, and that's really all we have now. But I don't know if that's the most efficient way of handling it. And I know in University Heights, there have been fires because they were on private property, the campers were, and therefore the police couldn't do anything about it. That's what we were told, etc. And it seems like the amount of money that must be spent to fight those fires would be better spent to keep them from happening in a, you know, using that money in another way.
I would agree with that for sure. I'm not aware that there is a brush mitigation hotline that we have at the city. Sounds like it could be a good idea. In the meantime, yes, absolutely. One of the most important functions that the council office performs is navigating the city bureaucracy. And I am very fortunate to have a team that is very good at that. Jacob, my chief staff, is back there. Bridget's here, Max is here, Jordan, Logan, Christina, Terry, Jay. We've got a team that spends all day, every day, navigating the city bureaucracy to help our constituents get answers. And that's, you know, one of the most important things that we can do. So always feel free to call the council office.
Started going through, Parks and Recs will only clear in the canyon spots that are closer to 100 feet of a structure and are on, not on private property, right? The bulk of these canyons is not on private property and they won't touch it. So the bulk of these canyons are unthinned. They have lots of brush in them. They're basically tinderbox. They'll go off in a flash. If the fire comes into a canyon, because it'll get sucked up the canyon, all those places will go. We have dead palm trees everywhere. We have eucalyptus trees falling down. We have all kinds of brush in these canyons. But Parks and Recs defines it as mostly native. And so we don't have to do any clearing. But it is not good brush management practice to do that. And the 100-foot defensible space, when the fire department comes out to measure it, which they do every couple of years, we see them out doing that. It's supposed to be horizontal, right? It's 100-foot horizontal from your structure. Our canyon is about 45 degrees. That means it's 140 feet down the canyon. They're not doing that. They're only doing 100 feet.
So I'm always the guy that's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. There's some education to this. So they have a 2-year program to go around and do their brush treatment, 100% structure. When there's a slope, it's greater than 50% degree, 70% degree, they will not do abatement. It's dangerous for them. So you can, if you don't like recycle, you don't like the abatement, you do the right of entry and you can do it more frequently. But to go beyond on a slope that steep is difficult. So here's what I put back on homeowners. If you establish a wildfire protection plan or anything like that, and we talked about ember resistant, talked about like low cost retrofit, it works. 100 feet of defensible space works. You've got to focus on your particular home, doing the home defense, home hardening, low cost retrofits. It'll give us the time to protect you. We have fantastic emergency operations resources. You've seen it. They're in the air, they're doing things. You got to do some things proactively. Can't always point the finger. I'm not saying you are doing that, but it tends to get that way. We're pointing the finger. We're not looking what we need to do too. So let's look at what we've got proactively. I'm not saying that what you're saying is not correct, but I'm just imploring you to please look at your own facility, your own home, do some home defense, and it makes a huge difference. If anyone's seen that picture that we've all seen in Drift Branch, where all of the homes are burnt and all the trees are still there, what does that mean? The homes will survive. The trees are not burning. The embers that are getting, you know, it's going to get there long before the direct flame, long before the direct heat. You see this picture right here? That's me right there. In the midst of those fires. I've seen it, I know it, lived it. Fight these fires. What I'm telling you is true. They've done studies on it. I've shown you there. So we will do what we can to help you, and we'll look at it. It's not, one size fits all. I do agree that there's more brush management needed, but it's difficult. It could be environmentally sensitive land. It could be gnatcatcher season, March 3, August 15th. Can't do anything unless you get a biologist. You want to get biofuel modeling. It's expensive. I can't even do that. Does that help you a little bit? I figured as much, but
Appreciate all of those. Again, thank you very, very much for being here and for caring about our neighborhoods. Have a good night, everybody.